Hey guys, Kenny here. Wanted to, come on and to Hey guys, Kenny here. Wanted to take a few minutes to kind of go over the trades or the framework that I've set up for all the tickers, even my option plays. And so I want to revisit what I actually published and to see how the levels actually held as a part of the framework that I set up. So let's go ahead and go to the charts. Let's take a look at, let's start with the Qs. And so the Qs, if we take a look at it, we have, I'll zoom in here. So we had the high volume node, which is the gray rectangles up top, and this gray rectangle here. Price started out in the upper zone, came down and tested the lower city here, the high volume node here, rejected and came back up into the actual lower part of this high volume node. And this is a high time frame, high volume node identified on the 4 hour chart. And then once this move took place, if you missed this early move, all we saw the rest of the day was some consolidation. And so the move, and those of you who follow my framework, we understand that we want to see imbalance movement. So price started here, came down, and this was the actual move that we could see happen. And then the rest of this was just kind of noise. So if you missed this move from here back up into here, then the rest of it was just, kind of the smaller movement. You could have probably taken this move from here to here, but a lot of this inside of here is more chop. And this is where if you're a breakout trader trying to anticipate the breakout, you would have gotten killed because you came up, we saw a wick down, came up, saw a wick down, came up, saw a wick down. And so a lot of traders who are breakout traders trying to anticipate what's taking place in the market will find themselves getting chopped up. And so this was for the Qs. Let's go to SPY. SPY had a similar, kind of structure in place as well, except on SPY, we're in the dead middle of a high time frame, high volume node. Once again, outlined on the 4 hour chart. And so on the SPY chart, we see that we opened up here, came down, tested, um, and then came up here, came back down. We saw this little move here, back down. And so we had kind of a slow trickle up. And then from there was just sideways the remaining part of the session. So if you're once again a bored trader and you find yourself wanting to try to manufacture trades, you would find yourself getting chopped up in price action like here on the, beginning at what is that, 12:30. If you didn't catch this initial push up, then you were out of luck. And I am, as a part of our framework, we typically try to avoid initiating trades in the middle of a high volume node. So this would have been a smaller risk, reward to risk scenario here, and really tight stops so that if you didn't get the break in the direction that you want, that you would find yourself getting stopped out for a small loss. We want to take smaller losses, but this was the imbalance move for the day. The rest of this was balanced. Moving on to Microsoft. Microsoft was pretty much a chop fest throughout the day. This is more meant for like scalpers. This was in the middle of a highway, and for those that don't know, I refer to the space in between two high volume nodes, which I refer to as cities. In the highway, we were stuck in the middle. We were inside day. This is not good price action to try to trade unless you're a scalper and you have, kind of an eye on the order flow or whatever other supporting mechanisms that you can use to identify opportunities. But this is definitely chop fest in here for those who aren't scalpers and are not used to making quick decisions. So Microsoft would have been a no-go for me. Apple, if you didn't catch this initial push up, which we saw coming out of the gate from here to here and then back, and then we just had chopped the rest of the day. If you didn't catch that initial push, then you were, in a world of hurt as a part of this chop. That's a scalper's, kind of paradise. Before our framework, you could actually, you probably could have played off the lower part of this gray rectangle, which is a city, but you would have had to anticipate or proactively trail your stop so that you didn't get this reversal because we didn't make it to the top of that zone. But you could have made some smaller profit off of that if you were very intentional about how you were going to trade that price action. Moving on to Google. Google, definitely not a definitely not something that I would want to kind of participate in. We saw this drive down at the start of the market, and then boom, it was rangy the rest of the session. So this is not good. Could have got that last push down, but even still, that's 347. I mean, you would have had to be on it and prepared to take that last push. But for me, that would have been a no-go because we're in the middle of a city and it's hard to manage your risk when you're trading in the middle of a zone. So that would have been a no-go for me. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon, we started up here. We saw the push down, push up, and we just kind of operated in the middle of the city, traveling the highway, and then we broke back up into the city, and then we broke out. That was kind of a failed attempt, and we finished here. So these would have been some decent scout moves if you were prepared to play in between the two zones and operating on the highway. So if that's your thing, you could have seen some success based off of today's price action. Let's go to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is in the middle of a high time frame, high volume node, also known as a city based off of my framework. And we see that we started up here, saw a push up, and then we came back down. And then we just kind of had this little action here. Once again, scalpers would have been better suited for this type of price action. We're looking at 205. I mean, there's a $2 move here. But once again, you have to be on your P's and Q's in order to try to catch some of this action. Let's go to Palantir. Once again, similar. We saw a lot of choppy action today, and we saw a big move up here. Then we came back down, then we went up, then we came back down, and then it consolidated at the end of the day, right? So if you didn't catch this initial move up or this initial pullback, then you would have seen a lot of chop towards the end of the day. So this would have been a no-go for me because we're in the middle of a zone, as well as the price action just didn't show anything but a balance. And so once again, I'm looking to take advantage of imbalanced moves. If I do trade in balance, a balanced move, then my targets are very short. I'm not looking for huge moves, and it's going to operate. And my assumption is going to operate imbalance until we transition into an imbalanced state. Let's go to AMD. AMD, we started and we pushed up slowly, kind of stair stepped up, and then we reached the next city and we just consolidated to end the day, which is cool. So that's what we see here. And this would have been the move, the initial move from this city to this city. You could have set your stop right underneath this gas station, which I refer to liquidity as gas stations. You could have put your stop there and you could have let it execute all the way to the next city. This would have been a great scenario for you. You would have gotten from 524 to about 544, and that would have been a solid move. So this would have been a good move. The other ones probably would have chopped you up. Going back to Palantir, this is a chop fest. That's balanced. This is kind of a balanced move as well. But you could have seen caught this initial move down, but I don't know why you would have played that. We're in the middle of a city, so that would have been tough to do. Amazon is a chop fest. I'm not sure that's a great uh, play when it's in a balanced state. And then we have Google that was balanced. Apple, we saw an initial push, initiative move at the start of the session, and then we played inside the city a little bit, and you could have played the city if you wanted. But there was really only one move there. Microsoft had this, kind of balance move here, so you would have been, kind of scalping. But once again, this action that's balanced is more challenging to play for some people, including myself. And so I want to see once price moves out of balance and into an imbalanced state. Um, we saw the initial move for SPY as well as the Qs. And then let's take a look at ES. ES would have been a similar state of the market. Of course, we have overnight action that's taking place here. So we're really only looking at what took place overnight. We saw an initiative move up overnight. We saw this range or balance action. And then when the 9:30 New York session started, we saw this push from down to up, down to up, down to up, and that would have been the initial move to take. And then all of a sudden, we, kind of got this slow fade back down to in the day. But that's, kind of what happened for ES. And then for the Qs or NQ from the futures contract, overnight, we saw this push up, started at the bottom of the city, up outside of the city. We saw some consolidation before New York session started. And then at the start of New York, we pushed down, we came up, pulled back a little bit, we came up, we got to the next city, and then we saw kind of this consolidation action as well. So that's kind of the market review based off of the levels that were published for today, which is Tuesday, July 21st. Of course, the futures contracts are actually being traded now. So this is actually overnight, the overnight Asia session, quote unquote, for futures. And so we see this kind of sideways action here. It's bouncing off our swing high volume weighted average price anchored VWAP. So that lets you know that this actual level that is being defended. And this is actually a test of this particular level for the Qs. And if we go back to ES, we see once again some consolidation action here. This is balance action. We tried to push out, rejected, pulled back into this high volume area, and so that's kind of where we are. That's where we are at the end of the day. I'll drop some new charts with levels that we can take a look at, but I wanted to do something different today, kind of a market recap of where we've been. So hopefully this was helpful to be able to see kind of what's going on. But these sideways activities and the action to the side, man, it makes it very challenging for you to get more sustained moves. And so those are the types of moves I'm looking for. And so I'm not interested when I see this kind of sideways action taking place. I want to see a push, an initiative push either to the downside or to the upside. I want to see a retest of that initiative push level. And then I want to see the party come in and defend their positions, whether it's aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers. That's kind of where we are at this point. Hope this has been helpful for you, and these levels actually hold, and which is another reason why I'm very confident in the system that I've been trading for a couple years now. Being able to understand the high time frame, high volume nodes, being able to understand the low volume nodes, what that means, being able to see, kind of the swing high anchor volume weighted average price, and then also the other anchored VWAP, which is anchored to the most recent swing low, anchored volume weighted average price, and then also being able to see what I call gas stations, liquidity areas. And so we see those by these yellow dash lines, and it just helps to have a framework as you're entering into the market, and to be able to have something to target. So entries are not at liquidity levels. Liquidity levels would serve as targets in my framework. The anchor volume weighted average price levels are areas of interest. The edges of cities or high volume nodes are areas of interest. And pretty much that's it. As always, if you want to learn more, I'd love to have you as a part of my school community, the Smart Trader Framework community, and we'll go from there. So hopefully this was helpful, and we'll talk soon. All right, take care.